we'll start. And I'm just taking them in the order they came. Will you commit to voting only for a bill that covers birth control and women's health care? So this is obviously about the replacement of Obamacare. And so let's hit that. One thing that is a concern to folks is, what about birth control pills? So I will speak about the bill I put forward with Susan Collins, called the Cassidy-Collins bill, and then perhaps some kind of ancillary issues. First, about birth control pills. The American College of Obstetrics and Gynecologists, those doctors that specialize in women's health care, think that birth control pills should be sold over the counter. Should not need a prescription. If my OBGYNs think that, I agree with it. That actually lowers healthcare costs tremendously. Instead of a woman having to see her obstetrician, paying whatever the cost is, she goes and gets it. I was a little surprised. Don't you want to do a pap smear? Don't you want to check for X, Y, and Z? Maybe give a chlamydia vaccine? And they say, no, we'll catch that. We'll catch that. We're just trying to lower barriers for a woman to access birth control pills. The second thing you know is that a woman can go to a federally qualified health center, which has 340B financing. That's not important. What is important, what I'm about to say, and receive a prescription for oral contraceptives for pennies a month. Now that is a way to lower healthcare costs, because not only is she not having to pay for the visit, but she's actually paying far less for her prescription. And one thing we have to be concerned about are prescription drug costs. Amen? Amen. So I think that we share a concern about that. As regards some other things, under the Cassidy-Collins plan, which I'm not saying will become law, I'm pushing for it to become law. I think it's the only way to achieve President Trump's campaign contract with the American voter. But let's just imagine that it does. We pre-fund health savings accounts for those who are eligible. And for those pre-funded health savings accounts, if someone needed a pap smear, she would have the money in that pre-funded health savings account to pay for the pap smear. And so we also think we address, by the way, if a man needs a prostatic specific antigen, a PSA, he could get the PSA. So we give the patient the control of that dollar for he or she to pay for the service that she or he needs. And then lastly, when someone asks a question like that, even if not explicitly stated, implied is, what about abortion? Okay. Under the Hyde Amendment, which has been federal law for some time, federal taxpayers are not used to finance abortion. And so the plan we have put forward would continue the federal law of the Hyde Amendment. So, a great question. It's a great way to start. Was that your question?
It was not, but I have
Whose question was it?
That was my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I do a follow-up. I'm pretty worried about whether or not, I know Planned Parenthood, I know that taxpayer dollars do not go to pay for abortions for Planned Parenthood, but would you vote for a bill that would remove funding from Planned Parenthood for the other services that they offer, like pap smears, for example?
Let's speak a little bit about Planned Parenthood. Let's speak a little bit about Planned Parenthood. Before I address your question, I'll just describe it. There's 2 Planned Parenthood facilities in Louisiana. One is in Baton Rouge, and one is in New Orleans. 2 areas which have more obstetricians and gynecologists than they actually need to service the women that live there. The areas in our state that are underserved, think about St. Helena Parish, or thinking about the Mississippi Delta region, or think about Union Parish. I bet you there is not a single obstetrician gynecologist that lives in those areas. Oh, pick one. But St. Joseph's Practical. What I actually favor is taking the dollars that would go to these institutions, which are in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, incredibly served already, and distributing them to community health centers like those in the Delta region or those in rural parishes, which do not have access to someone that would do a pap smear. As an example, my practice has been for the uninsured. Oftentimes, those folks take public transportation. To ask someone to take public transportation from Catahoula Parish to Baton Rouge for women's health services is absurd. She's not going to do it. She's just not. And so what would be a far better approach would be to take those dollars and to distribute them to where the woman lives. So that instead of taking a Greyhound bus to New Orleans, she catches a ride down the street. And I think that is a better way to bring those services to where she is. Let me go on.